This is the KABAR made Becker BK2 Companion. And since its original conception back in the early 80s, regardless if you love or hate it, it has become synonymous with survival knives. It's deceptively capable for its compact size. But I've always felt that compact size is also its Achilles heel. Wishing that there was a version out there that was maybe 7 inches in blade length, giving us more power behind each swing to chop larger tasks with less energy, and being able to span larger logs to split down for kindling. Well, this blade may be the answer to that dilemma. This is the Spartan Blades HARSEY designed, KABAR made KUKRI. This is made out of a 1/4 inch thick slab of 1095 Crowvan steel, coming in at over 8 inches of blade length and weighing in at just over 20 ounces. And in today's video, we're gonna see what the capabilities of this KUKRI are and discover if the design characteristics are better suited for combat or the outdoors, and illuminate where it really blew me away in some of its capability, but also where it tends to lag. So blade lovers, thanks for joining me today. I'm Aaron, this is Gideon's Tactical. Let's dive in. Well, it's been years since I've tested a KUKRI here at the channel. It's such a unique profile that goes all the way back to the 7th century, but Western civilization didn't really encounter this profile till the 1700s when the British Empire was starting to colonize parts of India and Nepal, and they ran into the Gurkhas, who used this KUKRI profile as not only a general utility tool, but also as a melee combat weapon. And since that day, it has really captured the minds the world over of edge tool users, been used in more, not only wars, but also in general utility tasks than can be imagined. Now, I want to answer one question right out of the gate, that this is not designed to be a combat KUKRI. Spartan Blades themselves say in the description that this is an outdoor focused KUKRI for outdoor use. And if you're interested in more of a combat focused KUKRI, KABAR actually makes a combat KUKRI is what they call it. It has the handle that you would know from a KABAR fighting knife, but it's going to be only 12 ounces in weight, and it's going to be 0.17 on thickness. So it will be thinner, it'll be lighter, and a lot quicker in the hand for defensive roles. And so for a woods tool, the KUKRI design in general is really well set up for this. It has that front heavy balance that all KUKRIs have, with a low, I would say medium, maybe flat grind, and obviously that 1/4 inch thickness with 20 ounces of weight means that it's definitely blade heavy, giving you inertia and energy when you're impacting larger logs to chop down and split, like what you would be able to do, and feel kind of like the balance of a compact hatchet is what this KUKRI is going to feel like. Very blade heavy. As an example, the balance point is about 1 inch, maybe even slightly more, off of the handle forward. We'll talk how that plays into carving and other ergonomics in a moment. But if you're going to be swinging and chopping and impacting, that sweet spot of about 2.5 inches right there at the belly works so well, not only with the heavier wood, but then also with lighter greenery as well, or thin, say as thick as your thumb, branches that you might need to break down if you're crafting something, or if you just need to chop down a medium-sized tree or break down a log to help you with the fire. Its impact is going to be able to do that because of that grind and the thickness and then the weight. Now you may have noticed this swedge up here on the spine, and we'll address splitting capability and batoning in just a moment. But I want to thank you, the viewers, for your regular participation here at the channel. Without you, the channel doesn't exist. You literally are putting fuel into the gas tank to help me to create content just like this. And I also want to thank all of the partners in our affiliate network and regular sponsors here at the channel. And I want to focus in on one amazing piece of kit that's today's sponsor, which is Talkie. This Colorado-based company has produced a communication system that continues to impress me on my adventures. And I just want to share with you my experience from a recent backpacking trip. So I know a lot of you have been curious about the real world capability of the 2-watt powered Talkie. Well, my brother is over half a mile away through wooded terrain, over that ridgeline, and in a bowl at a lake that we were fishing at yesterday. I told him I'd be radioing in at around noon to just check in. So let's see if he copies. Hey Nate, just checking in. Do you copy?
Solid copy, big brother.
Awesome. Hope it's going well up there. Just want to let you know I won't be coming up there today, and I'll be working down here.
Copy. 1 for the rest of us.
Great. And guys, that's just scratching the surface of the capabilities of these Rocky Talkie. So I'll have a link in the description below this video. If you click on it, it automatically activates my exclusive 10% off promo code, which will go towards your purchase. So you can see all the different capabilities that these radios have. So pick yourself up a set so that you can better stay connected on your next outdoor adventure. The Becker BK2 is a monster when it comes to batoning. It just explodes wood. The downfall is it's just over 5 inches, so you just can't span very large logs that the knife is more than capable of splitting because of its thickness. Well, with this blade being 8.75 inches overall blade length, cutting edge is about 8.3, it allows you to span much larger logs and explodes wood in a very similar fashion because of the grind. You get a couple pounds in there and it's just gonna crack open those type of logs, regardless if it's more seasoned wood like I've had or lighter white woods, you know, like pine and aspen, regardless of what you're going to be splitting down. One or two hits and it is doing the work and it's good to go. And it doesn't take much effort. But I was concerned about the way the swedging was when I first saw it on paper, because the Becker BK9 and 7 have clip points that really destroy your batoning stick and it's not ideal. Well, they really thought this through because it is flat, 1/4 inch thickness all the way to right about here. Then you just have a little bit of tapering right near that drop and then it flattens out again. So regardless if you're hitting back here or you're hitting in that first, I'd say 2.5 to 3 inches right there, which you would be hitting anyway with your baton stick, you don't encounter the clip at all, and it's so minor, it just looks good, but actually does not affect the impact portion because it's just flat. But here's the rub. It's okay at the finer stuff. Now, some of that is just the way KUKRIs are designed, but if they had added one design feature, I think it would have really mitigated some of the issue. So, surprisingly, the edge geometry itself, even though it's a 1/4 inch thick, kind of a low grind, right here in that curvature, I was actually able to do really good feather sticking. Is it feather sticks or fuzz sticks? Let's see which term gets ratioed. I was able to get curls very easily. It was actually a lot of fun to see them come to life as I'm carving on the wood in that recurve portion. Issue is that after about 2 feather sticks, I got really fatigued. My wrist, my hand, and I was starting to screw up and, you know, like losing a fine controlled, not chisel, but guided cut that you want. I could do about 2. And then after that, I was like, yep, I wish I had a smaller knife. So it really is partly because of just the balance. And it could have been mitigated with this simple adaptation, which is a finger choil. It does not have a finger choil. It has a very nice large resharpening ricasso, which will help with resharpening, which we'll talk about in just a moment. If this had just had a choil here, I would have been right in the balance point and then given me a lot more capability. I wouldn't have fatigued my hand as much, and I could have gotten a lot more finer work done. Now, traditional KUKRIs don't have choils either, so that's just something to kind of note, but that would have mitigated and accelerated and helped with its more fine work. So you can do it, but I would argue this is definitely more of like the hard use tool. Sure, you can grab it and do draw cuts, and that's great. You can get a notch if you need to, and thankfully because of the really nice flat spine, it works. But because of the thickness, the weight, the low flat grind, it's just not ideal. It wouldn't be my first choice to make 6 notches and a dovetail. And a little bit later in pricing and competitive options, I will highlight a different design that does have a finger choil that's actually better at those finer things, so stay tuned for that. But going back to the 1095 Crowvan steel, it's tough, it's durable, it's pretty easy to put an edge back on. It's actually very easy to put an edge back on, and holds a decent edge. And in fact, all the utility that you're seeing, cordage cutting, foam cutting, cardboard, you know, different things like that, that was all done on the factory edge after I'd done all of the heavy lifting with, you know, testing and batoning and chopping. So it was still holding a pretty good edge. Now, recurves can be intimidating for people. What I've found is the best way with a recurve is to have a smaller, thinner leather strop and a ceramic rod, or a diamond rod for like resharpening, because then it allows you to easily track the blade, regardless of which way you prefer to go. And then you can easily do that and follow the recurve, and then you can hone. So that is the easiest way. Since we're talking about dulling and resharpening edges, we'll hit the sheath here. This is an American-made sheath, so the entire design is made here in America, which is awesome. This is injected molded sheath. That's what it says. It's just like injected molded. Injected molded what? I have no idea. So it's a polymer. We got a drainage hole, tons of lashing points. You can unscrew this here, rotate it so it's ambidextrous. It's got a huge Velcro strip right there. You can see the little American flag, made in the USA. Boom, so ambidextrous, ready to rock and roll. Pretty quiet for a polymer giant blade like this to not have blade slap is excellent. That is partly done with the trigger right here, which is a locking mechanism that goes onto the jimping, and you press that and then it releases the blade. Now you may have heard that. If you are not paying attention, because it's just because it's a recurve design, and it's always hard for me to do this when I'm on camera, there we go. It's polymer, and think of like cutting a knife on a cutting board, right? Even if it's polymer or wood, you're gonna dull it over time. You need to be thoughtful and kind of track the back, and so I push up and guide it with the upper portion to keep it from engaging and hitting the polymer, because otherwise you will slowly dull your blade. If you just try to pull like that, the entire belly hits the blade, meaning the sweet spot is going to dull on you a lot quicker unless you just think about what you're doing and just guide that tip in and then do the same thing coming out. Then you won't even engage the edge on the sheath. So that's just something to be aware of, but for the value that we're gonna talk about momentarily, this is excellent to have an ambidextrous polymer quiet sheath like this. Super impressed. Now the handle is the cherry on top. And no, this is not the KUKRI. This is the HARSEY Fighter. The HARSEY Nessmuck and the KUKRI are all going to have the exact same handle dimensions. So if you know it works on one, you know it's gonna fit on another ergonomically for you. So that is really well done, really smart. Now what I love is that, again, it's injected molded. Again, I don't know, just a polymer of some kind. What's much better than, say, the standard Gryvery scales on the Becker series is that it is ribbed in design, but they are milled just so nicely so they are not sharp, and they just give you a little bit of texture that you want. They're very dense. They're gonna be impervious to like moisture, you know, different environments. They're gonna hold up really well and not absorb moisture like micarta tends to do, but it gives you nice texture, does not create a hot spot. And this HARSEY handle, he does this, William HARSEY Jr. does this on a lot of his designs. It has this like bell out flare. My camera's not working, there we go. Bell out flare. So you could technically chop with this. If you didn't have a lanyard, you can have full grip on this, and it doesn't really want to move, which is phenomenal. It doesn't create a hot spot. I have large size hands. You guys can see I got plenty of real estate right there. The scales go up and around and encapsulate the guard. So many knives that are designed have exposed metal guards, and then they don't even mill the sides, and it's so brutal to the touch. So the fact that this is rounded, the scale goes over that, you're gonna be super locked in. It feels great. We have a little bit of jimping, not necessary, but it's kind of like in that HARSEY flare. It's really shallow and not super like aggressive. It's not sharp. So if you want to purchase that, you can. I tended to not even engage with it and just put my thumb over here or just hammer grip it, and it's totally fine. 2 bolts on a full tang. This is not skeletonized. The entire HARSEY series is a full tang, which is awesome. So very pleased with that. That's gonna add to durability, overall balance, you know, just all of that flowing together. And then of course a lanyard. I did chop with a lanyard, but if it broke or you just don't wanna use it, test it out. You're gonna be impressed. It's not gonna wanna fly out of your hand, which is super impressive. Now, this is a Spartan, you know, design knife. So you might be thinking, okay, those are like the Ferraris of the knife world. What is this, like $200, $250? You would be stunned that I paid $153 for this knife over on Knife Center. When I am making this video, they still have them in stock. Soon I'm sure they'll be available everywhere, but we'll just call it $150 for this knife, all American made, almost 9 inches, 1095, and no need to upgrade. Becker BK9 that I have here, this is no longer made. This is like on a laser engraved limited run that they did a long time ago. When I'm doing this video on Amazon, this is running for like $125, $130. Now it's gonna have Gryvery slick handle scales and a nylon sheath. So if you want it to have better traction like the KUKRI, you're gonna have to get G10 or micarta handle scales, and then to get some form of a Kydex sheath, you're gonna be over $200 to get a very similar sized tool made from the same company, same factory, with the same steel. And I will say that if you were to ask me for chopping and batoning, I would take the KUKRI. But because of the slightly better balance, the KUKRI is more front heavy, the BK9 is a little bit better balanced. If you're expecting your tool to do a lot of carving and feather stick making, I'd rather do it with the Becker BK9 just because it's a little bit more balanced on the back end than the KUKRI design. And how about that knife I highlighted earlier with the choil? This is the Work Tough Gear Lanzetta. Now, it's based more off of the Greek Xiphos sword that the Greeks used, but there's an argument to be made that that is actually the predecessor to the KUKRI and that the Gurkhas got the idea from Alexander the Great when his empire was expanding in the several centuries back BC. So this is very similar, got that recurve. It's gonna have a very high flat grind, more piercing, much more balanced, and will have a choil that I'm able to engage with, really work with, 90-degree spine, G10 handles that are kind of similar in that idea of like ribbing, lighter, so it's gonna be an overall lighter tool, higher grind at 0.23 inches thick, give you a lot of the same capabilities, not quite as good as batoning because it's a little bit thinner, not quite as good as chopping, but very close with that sweet spot in the higher grind, and it'll be much quicker in the hand and be great for carving and more precision accuracy in cutting than with this HARSEY. Well guys, I didn't really know what to expect when I first started testing with this KUKRI, but it has absolutely proven itself in the heavy duty woods working task and would be an excellent choice if you're wanting something to baton and chop like a Becker BK2, but even outperform it because of its extra weight and its extra length. So I hope that this video has been fun and entertaining, but also giving you the data and information that you need about this KUKRI. And I look forward to reading all the comments below. Let me know your guys' thoughts, and if you have any questions that specifics that I maybe missed, I look forward to reading all those comments below. I do invite you to check out the other video popping up and to subscribe if you haven't yet. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.